peeps? It's Great White making it happen again today with some more Portal Nights. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm having a pretty darn good day myself. It's the weekend, and I'm ready to party by myself in my apartment for 2 whole days. It's going to be fine, but we have lots of stuff to do in the meantime. We're going to learn lots of logic tutorial stuff. Wait, no, I'm going to do the tutorial. You're going to learn lots of logic stuff. Maybe I'll learn something too. I don't know. Let's jump right into it. Let's stop wasting time. So we're going to start by building a game together, right? And the game plan is that, game plan. Oh, that pun is so good. What we're going to do is we're going to build like, I think a little arena type thing where you walk in and it spawns some enemies to attack you. We'll say we'll do 3 waves of enemies, and then when you kill all of them, the door opens again and you can leave. And we might even make it so that you can go through it a second time if you want to, so that you don't have to reload the map, and it'll just every time you re-enter the room, you'll go through the same thing. I think that's what we'll kind of try and do. So let's get our UI back up here and let's build a little arena, okay? So let's start by, I'd say, making let's make a 12 by 12. So these are each 4, 8, 12. And let's just kind of close this in really quick. I think that's 12, right? Yeah, looks like it. Oh no, that's 4. Oh no! Let's get rid of that. Let's bring this over here. Just like that. Get rid of this. Bring this over. Get rid of that. And let's open up this side too. And then we'll raise it up probably to like 4, but we don't need to worry too much about raising up the walls just right now. You certainly can if you're going to follow along and try and do this and kind of learn along with me, but we won't worry about that at this point in time right now. So if you guys don't already, this was a tutorial. This is a tutorial series. So there's what is it? 4 or 5 episodes already in this tutorial series where we go through Top Cat's tutorial worlds where he kind of explains how things work, and then I kind of did my own, like, here's us actually using these logic blocks and kind of teaching you along while we actually hook things up. And then it comes to this. So this is the 5th episode, I believe, where we're kind of building a game together start to finish. And there are a few tricks that we use when we build a game that we're going to use together with this. I'm going to build a little bit of a lip here on the door leading in, and then the door leading out will be fine. So we've got our little arena, and let's just kind of talk about how this will work. What I want is some way to recognize when the player has walked through this door, and I want the door to close behind us then when we get through, and then enemies will spawn and attack us. There'll be 3 waves of enemies, and then once we kill them, this door will open up and we'll be able to leave. And maybe we'll have some kind of indicator, like some lights or something on the side. So actually, we can kind of put this together, the very basics right now. So I'm going to use the ghost barriers just because I like those. We're going to put 1 ghost barrier here. That'll be our entrance one. We'll put 1 ghost barrier here. That'll be our exit ghost barrier. And it would be cool if we had little lights for the 3 rounds of enemies that we're going to fight. So let's knock this out really quick. And I like to use, when we're doing indicator lights, I like to use the paper lanterns. Paper lanterns look really cool, I think, as indicator lights. Actually, the reason I like them so much is because back in my high school days, and like elementary growing up, our gymnasium in school had a scoreboard. And the scoreboard was like digital, but it had these big yellow round bulbs in it, and that was like very reminiscent of these paper lanterns, I think, or they are reminiscent of that, I should say. But yeah, let's do something like that. Well, let's get rid of this. That looks a little weird. So we'll say when you kill the first round, the bottom ones will light up. The second round will light up the second ones, and then the top ones will light up when the 3rd round is defeated and the door will open, right? I think that seems like a good way to do it. So this is pretty much the basics of it. Now, if we kind of think through the process, though, when we walk through, we're going to need a way to know that the player has walked through the door. I can't walk through because this door is closed right now, but we need something here that's going to be able to tell that the player's walked through. Well, there's a couple ways we could handle this. We could use pressure plates, right? So we could throw down a couple pressure plates like right here and right here, and when the player steps on them, they activate. But the problem with pressure plates is a player could totally jump over them and not trigger them, which we don't want. That's kind of cheaty, right? Cheaty players skipping our game? That's not cool. So instead of that, what I think we'll do is we will use one of the new items. Let's use a checkpoint. I think a checkpoint would be a cool way to do it. So this is kind of like a pressure plate, except instead of stepping on it, it just activates when a player walks through it. You can see it kind of looks like the ghost door, sorta, but this one's clear, and you can just walk through it. Pretty cool. So that's going to be what we recognize when the player walks through. That'll close this door behind us and then start spawning the enemies. So I'd say that works pretty well, and we can decide right now too what are our enemies going to be. We'll group them up just to make things simpler for us. Let's start with some fallen squires. Let's spawn just like 3 fallen squires, right? And then let's spawn, let's say, greenhorn grunts next. And then the last thing we'll spawn will be, I think we should do moss shells. Moss shells are pretty fun to fight. So, oh, hey, oh, there we go. They're those guys right there. So that's going to be our 3 groups of enemies. They'll spawn one at a time, though. So you won't have to fight all of them at once. So that's it. That's all the technical stuff. Or, excuse me, that's not the technical stuff. That's all the layout stuff. We have the game laid out. That's what it's going to kind of look like. But we need to get the logic blocks going. So let's jump into that. Let's not waste any more time. When you build a game using logic, there are some very useful logic combinations that you can use in every single game. What I'm talking about is when you load a game, sometimes you'll want something to happen right away. So as soon as the game gets loaded, boom, you want something to be turned on with a logic signal. Or sometimes you want something to stay on forever as soon as the game loads. So at the very beginning of the game loading, we want to have a constant signal sent and a quick pulse sent out. And we can do that using some pretty cool little tools here. So let's grab a timer, and we're going to grab a NOT gate. So timers, when you place them down, something to know about them is that whether I turn this on or off, it doesn't matter. When I load the game, the timer is going to be off. So even if I turn it on right now and then I save the game, it's going to be off when the game loads. So in order to get this timer to turn on as soon as the game loads, we're actually going to use this NOT gate. And if you remember from the tutorials before this one, NOT gates, they invert the signal. So when there's not a signal going into the NOT gate, it will send a signal. When there is a signal going into the NOT gate, it will not send a signal. So what we can do is I'm going to bust this down really quick. I'm going to place down a block here, put the timer on top of it, get rid of the block underneath it, and then put this timer under, or the NOT gate underneath, leading into it, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to say this timer, when it turns on, or when it doesn't turn on, ignore whether it's on or off. We're going to take the signal from this timer, get connection, put it into the NOT gate, and then we're going to get a connection from the NOT gate, put it into the timer to turn it on. So what that's going to do is when the game loads, this timer is going to be off. The NOT gate's going to say, hey, timer, I'm not getting a signal from you. So guess what? I'm going to send a signal. And we're going to take that signal the NOT gate's sending and have it turn on the timer. And that way, as soon as the game loads, boom, 1 second into the game loading, this timer will turn on. And that's it. It's that simple. Now, we also may, and excuse me, that means that this timer is on and it's going to be forwarding a signal indefinitely. Just it's going to keep sending a signal. It's going to constantly be sending it out, and it won't ever stop unless we tell it to, of course. But we're not going to. We're going to let it do its thing. Now, it's very possible that when the game loads, you also want a quick pulse to be sent out, and that's not what this is. This is a constant signal. So to do that quick pulse, we're going to use one of our handy tools we learned in the last tutorial, our pulse generator, which is a NOT gate, a delay, and a NOR gate. Those 3 things. And we're going to put those right in front of this. We're going to put it right at the edge here. So NOT gate, delay, NOR gate. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the signal from the timer. We're going to put it into the NOT gate. We're going to put it into the delay. We're going to bump the delay down to 0.5 seconds. I just like 0.5 second pulses. They just feel good to me. And we're going to take then the signal from the NOT gate. We'll put it in the bottom of the NOR gate. We're going to take the signal from the delay, put it into the top of the NOR gate. And it doesn't matter what order you do these. I just like to keep things, you know, consistent. So this is on the bottom. It goes on the bottom. This is on the top. Goes on the top. Just makes it easy. Just makes it clean and organized. That's all. And that's it. So now, if I want something to happen right away when the game loads, I can use this timer if it's a constant thing, and I can use this quick pulse to do it if it's just a one-time thing, right? Pretty easy to do. So we've got that ready to go, and we also want when the game starts. So what's going to trigger the game starting this time? Well, the player walking through this waypoint is going to trigger the game starting. So when the game loads, we may want things to happen, and when the game starts, so whenever the player does whatever they need to do to start the game, quote unquote start, we may want something to happen then too. So we're actually going to do the same thing again. We're going to put down a timer. We're not going to do the not gate this time because this timer is going to get triggered by something else. It's going to be triggered by the player walking through. So we don't have to worry about the not gate. We'll just put down a timer, and then, oh, you know what? Actually, we're going to use a timer and an OR gate. And we're going to do a similar thing to what we did over here, but we're going to put an OR gate underneath the timer this time. So we'll delete that underneath it. Let's put the timer right there, the OR gate rather, right there. Close that back up. And this OR gate is actually going to go toward resetting the timer. Input number 2, reset the countdown. So we're going to put the OR gate into input number 2. So that way I can turn this off with a couple different things. And that's actually going to be related to something we're about to do after this. So don't worry about that. So what I want to do is I want to say when the player walks through this checkpoint, we're going to turn on the game start timer, right? That's the game plan. Something we need to know, though, is that this checkpoint won't work unless it's getting a signal into input number 1. This checkpoint needs an input to be working. So this is one of those instances where we can say, hey, when the game loads, I want a constant signal, right here, I want a constant signal when the game loads to turn on this checkpoint, just like that. So now we'll know if somebody walks through that, and we can get a signal from the checkpoint and have it turn on the game start timer. Just like that. Now, we're putting a few things down now, and it can get a little bit confusing. So what I like to do to make sure I'm not lost in my own logic blocks is I like to use a writable sign. And I'll put one down here, for example, and we'll just say game load. Let's call it world load timer. Let's put one over here, and we'll call this one game start timer. Hey, not 2 R's. There we go. And then we could, if you want to, you could put one here and just say short pulse. And we could put one here and say constant signal, but I think we get it. You don't have to go too crazy with your logic blocks, but just put down enough that'll help you remember what's going on in the area you're looking at. That's what I usually do. So we've got the waypoint, or the checkpoint turning on the game start timer, and then the game load timer activating the checkpoint. Now, one thing you're always going to want in your logic block games when you make them, or at least I highly recommend you do have, is a reset button. A reset button will save your life. So many times it will save your life. So we're actually going to come over here. We're going to build a little spot here for a button. And buttons are 2 by 2. And I'm going to use a red button. I'm going to put this down right here. That's a good spot for it, I think. And you know what? We don't need this here. That's fine, just like that. That's our reset button. And what we need for the reset button is we need 2 delays. We need 2 delays for the reset button. So let's grab a delay, put one here and one here. Now, one of these delays is going to be used to unpress the button. So I'm going to grab the button, I'm going to get connection, I'm going to put it into this delay, I'm going to bump this delay down to 0.5 seconds, then I'm going to get a connection from that button, that delay, and put it back into the button. So now, if we press the button, it stays pressed for 0.5 seconds, and then it comes unpressed. Pretty useful. And then what we'll do, actually, is we're going to have this delay be the one that sends off the signal to reset the game anytime we need to. And maybe you're wondering, why do we need a reset button? Well, things like timers need to be reset. They won't reset themselves, or depending on how you work the logic, they won't ever reset until you tell them to. And depending on your game, you might not need to tell the timer to reset. There may not be a reason to, unless you were trying to start the game over. And like we talked about before, when you load the game, they'll be off automatically. But we could, so technically we could just reload the game. We could reload the map and then try the game again. Or, to make our lives easier, we could have a reset button that'll just reset everything for us, so we don't have to reload the game to do that. And that's why we're going to have a reset button. But you may actually want to have a button in the game that lets you reset the timer. So there may be a way you set it up so the players, when they beat the game, can go press that button to start again. So because you may want to reset it with this button or something in the logic block, let's actually use an OR gate. So we can say this or some button somewhere else could reset the game. So we're going to grab an OR gate and a delay. We're going to put the OR gate right here, and then we're going to put the delay on top of it. And we're going to grab that OR gate and have it go into the delay. Let's set this delay to 0.5 seconds too. And then we'll have the button go into the OR gate. So now we can tell this delay, when the button gets pressed, to reset the game load timer, and we can tell it to reset the game start timer. Just like that. So now if we want to try again at some point, we can just, instead of having to reload, we can just run over here, hit this button, and then practice the parts of the game again. Pretty easy. So that's the very, very basics of starting any logic block game. Like this is like the essence of everything you're gonna do. You're gonna want these short pulses, and you're gonna want these constant signals right at the start of the game loading, of the world loading, and then right at the start of the game beginning. One other thing we're gonna do before we end this portion of the tutorial is we're gonna get this front door working. So the problem right now is that if we say when the player goes and activates this door, we're gonna have it, we want it to close the door behind you, right? So if I just take a signal from this waypoint and put it into the door, you can see that the door is closed right now, which is weird. So what happens if I walk through this checkpoint? It opens the door. So that's not what we want. What I want is when I walk through the checkpoint, I want it to close the door. So we want it to do the opposite of what it's doing right now. So anytime you want something to do the opposite of what it's doing already, the answer to your problem, in most cases, is going to be a NOT gate. Because a NOT gate inverts the signal, right? Kind of like we talked about earlier. So what we'll do to fix this is we'll just go like this. We'll put a little thing here. Let's make it one wider. Yeah, there we go. And let's put down a sign so we know what we're putting down. We're going to call this the... Let's call it the door signal inverter. Yeah. And all we're going to do, it's really as simple as it sounds, guys. We're going to go into our logic blocks. We're going to grab a NOT gate. We're going to pop that NOT gate right there. And we're going to come over here, grab the signal from the checkpoint. We're going to put that... Oh, excuse me. Yes, nope, that's right. Grab the signal from the checkpoint, put it into the NOT gate. Then we're going to get a connection from the NOT gate and put it into this door. The door's invisible right now because it's open, but disconnect and apply. There we go. So if we reset our game really quick, so what's going to happen if we hit that reset button? It's going to turn off this timer, and it's going to turn off this timer, and then once it's done resetting, this timer will be off, which means this NOT gate's going to say, hey, you're off right now. I'm going to send you a signal to turn you on, and it's going to turn on, and then the game's going to be ready to go again. So let's hit that. Oh, wait a second. Oh, that's right. Excuse me. We need to reset the checkpoint, too. Oh, great. Why, you big dumb dummy? The checkpoint currently has a signal going into it, turning it on, and it won't turn off until we reset it with input number 2. So we want this reset button to reset the checkpoint. My goodness. So let's get a connection from this our reset delay, not the one that's unpressing the button, but the other one. And we're going to have that go into input number 2 for the checkpoint. So now, if I come over here and hit this button, there we go. So now, technically, like, let's imagine the game just loaded because all the timers have been turned off, and the other ones, the game load timer, the world load timer, is turned back on by now. But let's imagine we just loaded in. We see the door here. It's totally open. And we're like, ah-ha-ha, I see the way. I'm going to go through here all sneaky like. I can't I can't get through because we're in creative and I can't walk through the ghost doors in creative. But let's imagine I just walk through there and I hit the checkpoint, oh, we're trapped in. And now the enemies start spawning, and we can fight them. I was trying to swing my weapon, but you get the idea. Cool. That's a good start to the game, guys. I think that really covers the most basics of starting any logic block game that you're gonna make. All these things are very useful. Oh, I guess one last thing that we can mention is that you may want a short pulse to be sent off when the game starts. So right now we have this constant signal when the game starts. You may want to turn that into a short pulse too. So we can just do that again just for practice. Not gate, delay, NOR gate. And we'll go ahead and put this down here. Not gate, delay, NOR gate. We'll get the connection from the game start timer, and we'll put that into the NOT gate and into the delay. Bump the delay down to 0.5 seconds, just because I feel like 0.5 seconds. You can do however long you want. And then we'll grab the connection from the NOT gate, put it into the bottom of the NOR gate, grab the connection from the delay, put it into the top of the NOR gate, and now this is all ready to go too. So next video, when we're doing this, if you decide you want to have something happen just with a quick pulse when the game starts, when we walk through the checkpoint, we already have that ready to go. So this is the core of what you want. This is kind of niche. This has to do with this specific one, but these things over here, your reset button, your world load timer, and your game start timer, and then their short pulses, respectively. Those are the core of any game that you're going to make, whether it's a memory game, whether it's a Simon Says game, if it's an arena, if it's a tower defense, if it's anything. These are things that you're going to want to have, and these are combinations of logic blocks that you're going to use frequently in your builds. All these things are very crucial. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you're interested in building a game, I hope this brought you some insight on how to do things. Thanks a lot for the suggestions for games you guys wanted to see last time. I wanted to keep things basic. Somebody suggested they wanted to see me build a computer. I'm not that smart, guys. I'm not that kind of genius type. I'm more of a basics kind of dude. But I love the comments anyway, so let me know if you guys found this helpful in the comments. If you have any suggestions or if you have any ideas for ways we could make this game more interesting, yeah, let me know. We can literally anything you guys think of, I promise you, I could totally make it work. But that's going to be it for today. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would very much appreciate it. Again, get in the comments with any suggestions or ideas. Let me know if it was helpful. And, well, I suppose I'll see you guys in the next video. You've been a pleasure as always, and I hope you do have just the best kind of day. Adios!